Ask Reddit. Many people say that they want their funeral to be a celebration rather than a mourning. Has anybody actually attended, or seriously planned, a fun funeral? What happened? My great-grandpa made it very public that he had lived a great life and his last wish was he just wanted to live to 100 so he could brag to his dad in heaven because his dad died at 99. He died 2 days after his 100th birthday. His funeral was basically a party, lots of jokes were told, lots of drinks were had, only happy tears, rip Pappy. I tried to make sure my wife's funeral wasn't a stuffy cry fest, but she was only 38 when she passed. I told the story of how we met, which was funny, and it set the tone for those who did speak to share their happy, funny stories about her. The reception after that was fine, the after party was where she would have had the best time, it was the poopiest reason for a big family reunion, but nearly everyone who was at our wedding was back together again. We drank, we laughed, we danced, we cried, she wouldn't have wanted it any other way. New Orleans has a tradition of marching slowly to the graveyard, mourning. Then a ceremony and a dancing jazz party on the way back to the church, where food and drinks are. The party continues from there. I've always thought this is good psychology, mourn, but celebrate also. When my great-grandpa died, my grandma had a dinner at her house and his closest friends and family came over to share stories about his life and accomplishments. It wasn't fun exactly, but it was a celebration of his life rather than a mourning that he passed. It was nice, it was small, and it was a great way to honor his memory. I attended a friend of a friend's funeral as support. It was really quiet in the church as Knocking on Heaven's Door, Yellow Submarine, and Highway to Hell played. It was what he wanted, but everyone else was still a bit too sad and shell-shocked for them to enjoy it. A childhood friend of mine got killed by a drunk driver when he was like 19, and always said this. His funeral wasn't exactly a part, but it was genuinely amazing how many people from how many walks of life came to share stories about him, like hospice patients he took care of, the kids he smoked weed with, old school friends. There was just this huge sense of, everybody loved this guy, he was a wonderful person, we were so lucky to have him. I think a lot of people learned a lot about him when everyone from pothead skater kids to old men in wheelchairs from his job were coming up to speak. The real party was later though. His friends organized a sort of small live music event, party afterwards. It became an annual event where all his friends get together to celebrate for years after his death. Not sure if it's still going, but it was great to see this big party every year for him. My mother owns a venue, and has memorials and services quite often, but the coolest one I had seen and worked was for this girl's father. She came to us saying her dad had passed suddenly after his birthday, and wasn't able to attend the giant surprise concert they had put together for him with all his old band mates and all his friends in other bands. I guess he was a huge old school metal punk and used to throw desert concerts, and draw the flyers and stuff. She said her mum was just so distraught she couldn't imagine forcing her to put together a memorial, let alone one that wasn't celebrating the man he was, so the daughter went on with the concert in her dad's memory, and I mean full-blown concert. They had flyers made and designed after the very first one he ever drew, kegs, a taco truck, and an amazing candy buffet with all his favorites, even hundreds of cases of his favorite locally brewed beers. It was so amazing to see everyone come together and just celebrate this person. I'm a metalhead myself, so the music was pretty awesome if I do say so myself, and the way everyone had a chance to pay their respects for him was just an amazing experience. 100 points would want the same for myself, and I definitely cried a few times at how just amazing and beautiful it was. There were a lot of depressed people on the bouncy house. IDK about them, but 5YoMe was having a blast. Instead of a funeral, we held a block party barbecue for my dad. We roped off the cul-de-sac with a permit, served his favorite foods, played his favorite music nice and loud, stocked up on the box wine he infamously loved, and invited everybody he knew. We had pictures of him up as a mini gallery of sorts. It was nice, people drank, laughed, and told stories about him. We must have had at least 24 people, maybe as many as 50. All told, I wasn't in a great headspace, so it's a bit of a blur of people. We got a lot of compliments, though. He would have liked it a lot. I have a very strange, large, redneck-ish family. One of my great second removed super great aunts, or something like that, died last year. She had been sick for a long time. After the viewing, we all went to the bar and got hammered telling stories. She was salt of the earth. She would have been appalled that we even laid her out and people were crying. True badass woman, literally one of the women that took over in factories when the men were away in WW2. She'd be embarrassed to see how many people showed up and cried over her body. So we all went out and got hammered and cheersed her. I didn't pour one out, didn't think the bar would like that. At my aunt's funeral we all cracked cans of beer and drank them in her honor. She drank a lot of beer. I played the organ for the funeral of a man who was a devoted Star Wars fan. All the music, from start to finish, was based on movie themes. The pallbearers were dressed in highly detailed Star Wars costumes, even the eulogist was in an Obi-Wan Kenobi outfit and held a lightsaber in his hand, right to the cemetery. In Ireland, I'm not sure for other countries, but it's normal to have a funeral where loads of people gets drunk and stay most of the day in the pub. My high school drama teacher's stepfather apparently has an envelope full of instructions for when he dies. One is that they play Celebration at the afterparty of his funeral and everyone has a dance-off. They must be laughing and smiling. I think there may be a prize involved. For my own funeral I don't care what they do, as long as they don't expect me to do any speeches or group activities. In Lakota culture, a year after the death there is a ceremony called the wiping of the tears to release the grief from the past year. After the ceremony there is a feast and a giveaway where the family will give away items to all who attend: quilts, toys, kitchen stuff, etc. My grandfather's was held at a powwow, so there was an honor song for him that we all danced to. With the powwow going on, it was like a festival atmosphere. A couple months ago, I was out on my back deck. My house backs onto a park. There was a big event happening at the skate park. Food was being BBQ'd, there was a bouncy castle, there was a skate competition going on, balloons, DJ, speaker system. I didn't know what was going on and went on with my business in the backyard. About 30 minutes later a guy comes on the paw and announces to the crowd something along the lines of this: "Hi, my name is Chris and I am Dave's brother. Dave said when he died he didn't want a funeral, he wanted a celebration and he wanted people to see what he loved to do. He spent a lot of time at this skate park. So in his memory, instead of a miserable funeral, we are holding a skate competition in his honor. Help yourself to some food, have fun, dance, sign up for the competition if you skate." Pauses, holding back tears. "This is for you, bro, I miss you." I was mind blown. It was a really sweet gesture and a great way to remember somebody for who they were. Historically, where I'm from, the religious belief before Catholicism made its way over was when one died in this world there was a rebirth in the next, so you celebrated the new birth in the next life. To an extent, a birth in this world meant a death in the other, so a slight mourning for that. Anyway, that means a death in this world was always celebrated. This culture has continued and funerals can be a great party. Obviously, if it is a child dying of cancer it's a different story, but if it is somebody who had a good life there is a lot of drinking and partying involved. People who come from other areas are perplexed by the way the island deals with funerals at times, but almost always prefer it. The best way I can describe it is a lot of people speak about how good a wedding was, but we speak the same way about a funeral. At times they are looked forward to more than a wedding. My cousin died young from cancer. He was in his early 40s with 2 school-aged daughters. No one knew his plans. They had a reception at a hall with a small band and plenty of food and alcohol. A cousin got up and gave a moving speech, everyone crying. He sits down and the band jumps right into a trumpet blaring rendition of When the Saints Go Marching In. Everyone in attendance looked up, looked at the band, and roared with laughter. From then on it was a great party. We had an amazing party for my cousin's husband. He was a larger-than-life, tell-it-like-it-is, hard-partying guy. If you were part of his family, you never doubted he loved you and heaven help you if wronged one of his, the hard-scrabble ex-gangster type. His celebration had a killer band, dancing, his favorite foods cooked by his favorite people, good drink and good smoke, ended up renting a hall for everyone that wanted to be there. There were tears, but far more laughter. His memorial slide show was To Funeral by Lucas Graham. Miss that guy and his bear hugs so much. Everyone, welcome to my funeral. Everyone I know better be wasted. I would pour one up cause the way I lived, it was amazing. My closest childhood friend had a love for those creepy ceramic clown dolls since we were children. When she passed, she wrote directs for her funeral, which included the presence of her favorite 100 clown dolls, and at least 5, but no more than 16 funeral clowns. I'd love to attend a funeral. My mom's best friend planned her own funeral a few days before her death. The receiving was a hula party where everyone had to wear Hawaiian shirts and leis and grass skirts. Then at her funeral she made us pall-bearers carry her into the service 5 minutes after it was scheduled to begin so she could be late to her own funeral.